Hi everybody, it's Christina from Adventures in Polish Land, and today I have another book review as part of the American Lit Reading Challenge that I am doing this year, which is where I read a book set in every U.S. state and territory. And today I am going to talk about The Westing Game by Ellen Raskin. This is set in Wisconsin, and this is a library copy, so before I reflect too much in your eyes, I will put a picture of the book here. This pick I had never heard of before, but when I googled books set in Wisconsin, it came up and I immediately knew that I had to read it. This is a children's novel that won the Newbery Medal, but it is right up my alley. It is a book about a competition featuring a puzzle game, which I absolutely love. Those are buzzwords when it comes to books for me. In this book, we are following a rowdy group of 16 different characters who are heirs to Samuel Westing's estate. Mr. Westing is a very wealthy man who ran a paper mill, and in his will, he has bequeathed his $200 million estate to the one person who can solve his puzzle. So in this book, Mr. Westing leaves a series of clues that our characters and us as the reader have to try to figure out to determine who is his murderer. So what follows is a really fun murder mystery game, puzzle game, scavenger hunt style book where we get to meet all of these different, very unique characters and their quirky personalities as we try to come to an answer. I overall really enjoyed this book. It is a children's book. It is pretty short, but I read it in 2 days. I ended up giving this a 3.5-star rating, but it definitely leans towards a 4. I will say this book does feel a bit dated. It was originally published in 1978, so a lot of the terminology used in the book is no longer acceptable. However, I will give that a pass since it was probably socially acceptable at the time. But I will say for a book set in the late 70s, we do have a pretty diverse cast of characters. There are kids, there are adults, there's a disabled character, there are immigrant characters, there are characters of different races and ethnicities, so that was really nice to have a well-rounded group of people. I also really loved how we would bounce around from character to character and sort of find out what's going on in their head and then find out what they're saying to each other in reality, because oftentimes that did not match up. My favorite character was a young girl named Turtle. That is her nickname, but everybody calls her Turtle. She was very spunky, very intelligent, and I just really was rooting for her the entire time because her mother really didn't care for her and wasn't nice to her. She has an older sister, Angela, who her mother adores and dotes on hand and foot. So I really wanted Turtle to be successful in this challenge because she's just such a great character. The reason why I didn't rate this a little bit higher is because I really wanted more of the game element in it. So when the will is first read to our heirs, it mentions that they will meet up again and again to go over different clues to the problem. However, after the first meeting, we only met up once more before the resolution happens at the end of the book. I would have liked more rounds of the game throughout because I think it would have kept it fresh and fun. But that being said, this book is such an enjoyable time. If you're looking for a fast and entertaining read, I definitely recommend this. I would also recommend buying your own copy so that you could take notes in it and mark it up and put sticky notes all over it. I think I would have figured out the mystery a little bit more if I wasn't working out of a library book. I think what's great about this book, though, is that you do pick up on some of the clues, but as for me, I didn't have everything fully established before we got to the resolution, so that was really exciting that she was still able to surprise me in the end. Speaking of the ending, I will not spoil it, but I will say it was very emotional and quite poignant. It actually brought me to tears, so I thought that was really special that this children's book that I read very quickly kept me on the edge of my seat and really was touching to me. I think there's so much going on in this book, and one thing I enjoy about books like this that have that puzzle element is these books are so rereadable. I can certainly see myself reading this again to pick up on all of the clues I may have missed the first time around. This book definitely feels like a early days precursor to Ready Player One. It is a similar concept, but it doesn't have any of that technology, and it's not set in a dystopian world. It is set in what was their current day, which I think makes the book all that much more fun. So whether or not you are looking to read a book that is set in Wisconsin specifically, or you're just looking for a book that is very enjoyable, will get you laughing, but will also touch your heart in the end, I highly recommend The Westing Game by Ellen Raskin. Just keep in mind that it is a product of its time, so some of the terminology used throughout will not be up to date. If you've read this book, let me know. I'm surprised I've never heard of it before, but I'm really glad that I read it, and I hope to revisit it at some point. If you have any other recommendations for books set in Wisconsin, be sure to let me know in the comments, and I will see you in my next video. Bye.